Welcome to the RDL show, Ryan D. Leaf show. I'm your host, Ryan D. Leaf, joined by Sky, Jonathan, and Charlie here in a little bit. Today we are going to do a fan appreciation day because we're almost a month in to this show. We've, I believe, exceeded all of our expectations of where we were going to be in terms of fans and interaction and everybody who's showing up. So I thought today we'd kind of get involved with we've seen an uptick in the last few episodes with questions, with interactions. So we're going to make this show more of that. And more of a thank you, thank you for being a part of this. This is a grassroots passion project of ours that we wanted to share with people. And so that's what we're doing. Yesterday was an interesting day for me. I got up at 5:30, 6 a.m. and drove, about an hour to Chino to sign autographs. Now, if you're watching the RDL show, you're watching it for a reason. I asked the question, I'm not gonna look a gift horse in the face either around, getting paid to sign some autographs. But I sometimes wonder what the market is for that. Apparently, it's got to be pretty good because somebody's paying me to sign about 1,000 autographs, and I got to meet the Hulk yesterday too, which I thought was pretty neat. But it was interesting. I was talking with my therapist on the way back on the drive because when I started with her, I didn't want to have anything to do with football. I didn't certainly want anything to have to do with my celebrity and asking to go somewhere and sign autographs for 90 minutes would probably have some kind of influence on me in the negative. But I've really kind of come to grips with what it is, right? I understand that when being asked to do something like that, it's not about, an identity crisis. It's not about Ryan Leaf and you're only a football player, a failed football player, or whatever I used to look at something as, but it was rather a humbling and fun experience. And I think when I've done these in the past, I took them so for granted back in my playing days that when I'd show up, I probably wasn't very personable to the men and women who were, putting this all together and hustling to get these things done. And so I really, when I came onto the scene yesterday morning, it really was about how I treated them. It was about me being there and signing these things, but I tried to make it about them. And I asked questions and saw how they were doing. And those were things that I never would have done. So when you're walking into, and this doesn't apply to something like this. This applies to any time that you walk into any kind of situation. And I found in my sobriety that when I walk into a party or walk into a group of people, I make it about them. A lot of times they introduce themselves they don't introduce themselves to me. They're just like, "Oh, Ryan, so great to meet you." And I always have made it a point in my sobriety to ask them their name, who they are, how they're doing, what's going on, and it buoys the experience. I enjoyed the 90 minutes thoroughly yesterday, and because of that, opportunities like that may come again. You forget that people are not there to serve you when you are placed on a pedestal as an elite athlete. I remember, I can't remember what card company offered me a deal to sign 10,000 of their football cards for $100,000. So, and I took it so for granted. I had like a deadline to get them done, and I hadn't done them. They were just sitting in my closet. My dad shows up. He said, "When are those cards due?" And I said, "I don't know." And he looked, and they were due like Saturday, and it was like Thursday. And he grabbed them. He sat down with a TV tray and said, "You need to sign these." It's $100,000, Ryan. And for my father, who has raised 3 boys and is a 2-tour Vietnam veteran, $100,000 was probably 2 or 3 year salary or something like that at the time. And I didn't understand it. And it's such a arrogant, selfish way. And then when I signed it, I just put RL16. I didn't even actually sign my autograph to it. I was such a different individual than you're seeing now. And I'm grateful for it. And I'm grateful for those experiences because it gave me the one I had yesterday. It was really fun. They had a wonderful inventory of cool things. The picture with the Hulk was, they had this life size. I wouldn't say life size. I guess the Hulk is that size. But it was this huge Hulk. And I took a picture with it and had a little fun with my social media platforms yesterday. So that's the show. We're going to get into some of your questions here in a minute. Final four is set. 2 1 seeds, a 2 seed, and an 11 seed. First four to final four. The UCLA Bruins do something magical and rip the heart out of our very own Charlie Moss, though I don't understand it, really.
That's Charlie, by the way, for everybody watching. That's Charlie with the shirt over his head.
My response to Charlie after seeing that was, you don't even fucking go there, bro.
God.
Charlie, do you have any rebuttal?
Yeah, it doesn't matter that I don't go there. My dad went there. I think my dad's watching. Shout out to you, Dad. My brother goes.
So when Montana State got beat in the Big Sky tournament this year to Eastern Washington, I should have been despondent.
That's how I was raised. You said you're growing.
Well, I was raised. My dad was like Bobcats or die.
Okay, okay, but you said you're a Cubs fan though. You're not from Chicago. You're not from the state of Illinois. What makes you a Cubs fan?
There's no baseball team.
I didn't go to the Chicago Cubs. You can't go to the Chicago Cubs. You don't go to Michigan.
I don't go to Michigan.
You don't go to Michigan.
I'm still the biggest fan there is. I don't care what anybody says.
Well, I'd appreciate it. Hopefully, Juwan Howard is listening and is going to have you out next year to speak to the team. So we'll see how that works.
Did an excellent job and exceeded expectations with this group of guys this year. And we have the #1 recruiting class coming next year. So everyone buckle up.
Buckle up.
Nice rebuttal, Charlie.
UCLA in the Elite Eight again next year, probably. The Bruins, first four to the final four. The Pac-12 in men's and women's basketball have 3 Final Four teams out of the 8. First time that's ever happened in the Pac-12 conference's history. Exciting stuff. The University of Arizona, the Stanford Cardinal, and there could be an all Pac-12 national championship on the basketball side. Arizona's got to get through, Paige Buckets and the UConn Huskies, but it's a very, very good chance. Adia Barnes, the head coach of the Arizona Wildcats women's basketball team. So, Final Four is set. I will say it now, and I said it before we filled out the brackets. No one's beating Gonzaga, and it might be a double-digit national championship victory. This might be the most dominant men's basketball team in, I don't know, a decade, maybe since the Kentucky Wildcats were able to win it with the eyebrow. I don't know. This is a dominant basketball team. What they made USC look like last night, whoa. The difference in how USC dominated Oregon to flip it completely on the other side of that and the way they dominated a USC team with 2 7-footers, that was comical. It was a absolute beat down all the way through. So I don't know if anybody's stopping them. Get your pocketbooks ready, boys. Looks like the field didn't stand a chance.
I can't wait to give you $1.
Yep, I can't wait either. All right,
if we have to,
we have a bunch of our fans, of our viewers already part of this. Why don't you guys start throwing up some questions, and we will answer them accordingly the rest of the way through.
We'll go 49ers.
Right. Oh, I think you and I actually, Sky, clicked on the same one. That's really funny. What is the end game with Jimmy G?
Well, from what Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch have been saying, in particular at the workout of the Alabama Pro Day, it sounds like he's going to be kept in place. He is the answer, but they are going to draft a quarterback. They've made that very clear. So this contract that Jimmy's playing on is going to most likely be the last. It's reminiscent to what the Kansas City Chiefs did with Patrick Mahomes. The difference in all that is when they drafted Patrick Mahomes and they moved up on the day of the draft to 10 to draft him, not too many people knew about Patrick Mahomes. Okay. I mean, they knew of him. They knew of his, that he was probably going to be a first round draft pick, but no one was thinking like when he was drafted by Kansas City that he was going to take Alex Smith's job. Alex Smith went out and won the first game in a blowout against the New England Patriots and Tom Brady, and no one gave it an afterthought about Patrick Mahomes playing that rookie year until the final game when they were already in the playoffs. Andy Reid let him go out and play, and he played extremely well. Andy Reid knew who he had. He knew he had a tiger by the tail, and they traded away Alex Smith at the end of the year. Now, that would be perfect for the 49ers and this crew if they could do it. If they could get to the playoffs with Jimmy Garoppolo, bring whoever they draft at the quarterback position along, and then either cut Jimmy G or trade him somewhere for some assets and start playing the next guy. Now, what if Jimmy G has a similar year that he did 2 years ago when he played 16 games and they go back to the Super Bowl? What does that look like? So this is a bit of a precarious position for the 49ers. I don't know what's going to happen. They moved up to 3. They're taking a quarterback. The fans are going to want to see him play, especially if Jimmy G struggles a little bit. So do you get rid of him beforehand? The cap hit is enormous. No one wants to take on that trade. I suspect he'll be in San Francisco this year and be starting until they struggle enough where the rookie gets in, or he fights his way through it and they find a way to get to the playoffs, and we'll see what shakes down. It's a very interesting situation that the 49ers have put themselves in right now, giving up the draft capital that they did to move to 3.
What are your thoughts on the future of Russell Wilson? Before I want to preface this with the Tyler Lockett extension, 4 years, $54 million, right? Sky, you have the number in the back of your head?
I think it's 69. I'll confirm.
Oh, even more, $69 million. This makes me believe that Russell's not going anywhere, because why would he sign that extension? Ryan, your thoughts on Russell Wilson?
Yeah, like I've been saying for a long time, I didn't expect Russell to be going anywhere. I thought this was a big smokescreen played up by the media simply because he made some statements about wanting protection on the Dan Patrick Show. And then his agents somehow, throwing some gasoline on the fire by saying these are the 4 places. If he wanted to go somewhere, these are the 4 places he wanted to go. I don't know what purpose that served either, but the cap hit's too much. Why you would trade away a Super Bowl MVP and winning quarterback in his prime? Just go get some better players around him. That's all he's asking. It wasn't like, hey, you guys suck. I'm the best thing since sliced bread. Let's make it happen. So I expect him to be in Seattle. Now, if they struggle and they have a disappointing season and Russell spends most of the year on his back, there will be a conversation next year. There will be for sure. I bet that.
Seattle Seahawks are giving wide receiver Tyler Lockett a 4-year, $69.2 million extension, $37 million guaranteed.
See, guys, even short guys can make it big. All right. How tall are you, Charlie? You're 6. Are you tall?
I'm 6'2".
Okay. See, yeah.
Tyler Lockett, though, man, DK, gonna be interesting in Seattle. We'll see.
Final 2 minutes, need a touchdown. Which current NFL quarterback do you want on the field, and do you want someone different if there is only time for one play?
Okay, one play, Aaron Rodgers, 2-minute drill, Tom Brady.
I agree with you 100%. I was going to say the exact same thing.
Patrick Mahomes probably could be talked about in the mix, but we'll see. We'll see, He's
JP
getting there.
agrees.
That's so funny. JP basically just echoed what you said with this comment by saying greatest one-play quarterback ever has to be Aaron.
Well, how many Hail Marys has A-Rod hit? Yeah. I mean, he's hit a few.
Yeah.
I know of 3 off the top of my head.
Yeah, he's
so-
hit a few.
There's
It's
against the Lions when I think Richard Rodgers caught that, against the Cardinals when
2 against the Cardinals.
2 against the Cardinals.
Mhm.
yeah. And then
Then
the
he
throw against Dallas in the
Yeah,
playoffs where he
had
put
that
it on the
ridiculous
sideline so they could
throw.
kick a field goal.
Jared Cook.
Ridiculous
Oh, yeah.
throw. Yeah, that was
Yeah.
ridiculous.
Any sports outside of the traditional U.S. pastimes that you enjoy watching? I'm watching England playing in. So David's actually from across the pond.
Love this,
Right.
David. Shouts out to the Across the Pond.
Charlie, I'm doing a United Kingdom podcast today, right?
Yes, it's an Instagram account called the National Vintage League. Ryan actually has an interview with them 30 minutes after the RDL show today. So once that is published, we will let you guys know.
Yeah, so we have lots of fans and followers across the pond, and I don't particularly watch European football. So no, I think if when I was in Europe, I went to, I watched tennis. I'll watch tennis when it's the French Open, Wimbledon. When I was traveling through Europe after I had retired and went back to college to finish my degree, I spent about 6 months in Europe and went to Wimbledon when I was in London. I went to the French Open in Roland Garros, and it was Rafael Nadal's first French Open victory. So if you can think about how many has he won, like 13 or 14 or something like that. Saw that. I went to the Monaco Grand Prix when I was in Monaco. I stayed in Nice, and then I went to the Plaza del Toros in Madrid and saw the bullfights. Very cultural event. Didn't see any European football. Let's put it this way. All right, to get me to watch the World Cup a few years back. I watched it. I was in prison. So the only way you could get me to watch soccer, guys, is to put me in prison. I think it's the tone for that one. Sorry to that. But if I keep watching Ted Lasso, maybe. If I watch the second season of Ted Lasso, yeah, we'll see.
Two other big international sports, and specifically UK, cricket and rugby as well. I have a couple English friends that play either cricket or rugby, and and
UCLA, by the way, is the number 1 collegiate rugby program for men's and women's in the nation. I just want to point that out. And Cal Berkeley, by the way, Sky, is like top 5. So nice. So Pac-12 rugby. Don't sleep on Pac-12 rugby. All right, let's move on here. Pick one mobile quarterback to build a franchise around in their prime. Frank Tarkenton, Michael Vick, Russell Wilson, or Lamar Jackson. Ooh, this is a good one.
Nice Tarkenton shout out.
Yeah. I said Frank. I meant Fran. I think it's Frank. He wrote it Fran.
It is Fran.
It's Fran.
Okay. Before my time.
Easily, for me, it's Russell Wilson. Great leader, hard worker, neutral mindset. He's able to do everything. So if I'm building a franchise around a quarterback right now in their prime, it's Russell Wilson.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's make this the last one before we pay some bills. We'll get back to them. Do you keep in touch with your former teammate Steve Gleason still?
I do. Steve is an amazing individual. Was on our 1997 Rose Bowl team. Went on to the pros as an undrafted free agent. Made multiple teams. Ultimately ended up in New Orleans. And if you recall correctly, blocked that amazing punt on Monday Night Football when they were coming back to the Superdome after Hurricane Katrina. And there's a memorial outside, a statue outside of him doing it. And then he was diagnosed with ALS. And I remember seeing Steve when he was first initially diagnosed, and from seeing a man who was so athletic, so overwhelmingly full of life, to see it draining his body, it was really difficult. I was able to see him and his family in Houston during the Super Bowl, spend some time with them, still as quick as can be, even in his chair, he's still witty. and he's been doing some amazing things. He's raised so much awareness, put bills through Congress, and his foundation, Team Gleason, has helped a ton of people who are dealing with ALS. It's not a research and development thing. It's actually real time helping people in the moment, giving them things while they are still here with their families to give them the best possible lives while they're dealing with Lou Gehrig's disease. And just this year, he asked me to wave the flag. Washington State asked him to wave the Washington State flag on College Game Day virtually, and I did it from my humble abode here to.
That's awesome.
To give back. So yeah, stay in touch with as many teammates as I can. Mostly, my best friend, my backup quarterback, Dave Muir. He is. We talk all the time. I'll see him in a couple of weeks when I'm back in Arizona. Him and his family live out there. So yeah, as many teammates as I can. That was a special team. Unfortunately, there are a few of them that are no longer with us, and that's sad because we're all still really young. But as many as I can, definitely are.
There's a great documentary. Great documentary, 2016, Gleason. It's a great documentary. I've seen it, and I highly recommend it for everybody on his story.
Yeah, it is. It is pretty special. That's for sure. So, sunfair.com, everybody. All right. Let's throw up some of those pictures. All right. There's me last July down at the bottom, 298 pounds. The two pictures above are over the last 2 months. And it's all been because of the food. Personalized, delivered, healthy meals to your door. Go to sunfair.com, fill out your information, sign up, click on sales representative Carl Farrow, and then when you are asked how you heard about us, click on the Ryan D. Leaf Show. You'll get 10% off your first delivery. Now, this isn't like a meal prep plan that you hear about, like freshly cooked meals delivered to your doorstep every morning. All you do is eat your meals throughout the day, put the green bag out on your doorstep at night when you go to bed, and when you wake up, you'll have a whole new day of meals there. Follow it. Nutritionally, they'll have it set for you. I've added some things to my meal plan, some supplements that a doctor's worked with me with that I was deficient in. But the biggest thing, and I think it's been a huge part of the Sunfair diet, has been drinking a ton of water. I drink about my body weight in water every single day, and it seemingly flushes me out and keeps me going. And so I put on a pair of pants from our good friends at Sweat Tailor this week, and I'm down to a 34 waist. I don't know. I can't remember when I was a 34 waist. Maybe when I was 16. So this has become incredibly interesting moving forward. So go to sunfair.com and you'll get 10% off your first order if you told them you heard us here on the Ryan D. Leaf Show. All right, fellas.
Ryan, really quickly here.
What's up?
How much? I'm bad at math. How many ounces of water is your body weight as he drinks water?
So I'm like 223 right now. So I'm drinking about 220 ounces of water every day. So that's 13 of these a day.
It's a lot of water.
Hope you're recycling.
A lot of water.
13 of these a day, or if I'm using
like a hydro flask.
Just a flask, it's that holds 104 ounces, 102 ounces. So two of those. At first it seems like a lot, but before you know it, like after I finish this, I'll have drank 85 ounces already today, and we're at 12:30. So I still have my hike a little bit later, and I'll be able to put away another 117 ounces of water without breaking a sweat. Got to piss a lot more in the afternoons. But I figure I'm 44 years old. I have to get up at night a couple times anyway. It's just the way of the world.
So
why not do it because I'm super healthy, right? So here's to the water, everybody. Drink as much as you can. My diet's a little, Sunfair will give you a signature diet, I'm at 2,100 calories a day. So people don't think that's a lot. It is if you're eating the right food. Because I've had 2 meals today. I've had grilled chicken, Capri salad, and pork tenderloin and walnuts as a snack before the show today, and I'm at like 500 calories for the day, and I have literally 2 meals left. So I have 1,600 calories I could eat the rest of the day. 60% fat, 30% protein, 10% carbs. I keep pretty good track. Being a former athlete, I've kind of gotten obsessive about it, and I think it's a good obsession because of the health benefits it's given me. And so we're here. That's the way we go.
220 ounces of water is roughly 14 pounds and nearly 2 gallons of water. Ryan, you're up to about 1 gallon, 1.71 gallons per day. Incredible. It's a lot of water, my man.
It's a lot of water.
I'll lose 9 to 11 pounds at night. So I don't like to weigh in at night because I don't like seeing the higher number, but I have just to see how much. Like yesterday, before I went to bed, I weighed in at 234 pounds, and this morning I woke up at 223. So I lost 11 pounds overnight in water weight, and it pushes all the fat out, and the water seeps into your muscles.
Ryan, I got a question for you. I'm going to jump in on this Q&A here. This is a personal question for me. Take us through an average day, depending on what time of your career, college, pro, whatever. What's an average day? You wake up until you go to bed, either game day, off day, whatever. What do you eat? What is an NFL quarterback?
What was your game day? Yeah, what was your game day?
There you go.
You guys, do you think? Nutrition wasn't even a thing.
That's why I'm asking. That's why.
Yeah, I got up. I don't know if I eat even in the morning. Me and the boys would go. If I had to go into the office, I'd go into the office and they'd have some food there, but their nutrition table wasn't anything special. When I got to San Diego, man, Jack in the Box was a huge, huge nutritional faux pas late at night. With the boys. Have some beers. Have some beers. Gordon Biersch. I didn't understand the value. Now, if I go into it, this is what I do if I'm one of those quarterbacks right now. If I'm Justin Fields, if I'm Mac Jones, if I'm Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson, right? So they're probably already got this in place. But the moment I got drafted and the signing bonus was into my account, the first 3 things I would set up is a place within walking distance to the facility. So it had to just be like an apartment complex or something close to the facility. I didn't need to go rent a 5,000 square foot house in La Jolla because that's what was cool. So I find a place within walking distance to the facility, probably a gated community, just so people couldn't get in. I'd hire a trainer who would live with me, preferably one that also cooked, so he could be my chef. And it would be all about the fuel I put in my body, all about the stress. Essentially what Tom Brady has set up throughout his career with TB12. That's what it should have looked like. You have to view yourself as the CEO of a Fortune 500 company because it's not long lasting, right? The average length of an NFL career is 2.8 years. And if you want to maximize the amount of money you can make, a second and a third contract, those are the things you needed to do. If I can do this at 44, when my metabolism is hard to kickstart, imagine what at 21 and 22 I could have done if I wasn't, eating shit food and drinking, alcohol and, running around late into the night instead of all the things that I was supposed to do. These are things that I would have done differently, and wouldn't have touched any of the money. It just wouldn't have done any of the stuff. I would have, given back, but, that's just the way that would have been different. I was not. And there's a reason why I wasn't successful, right? So we're seeing a change in what that looks like. We saw Justin Fields do it over the year when he switched to a more of a kind of a plant-based diet, lost about 12 pounds, added some good muscle. Thought he looked great last year. He had a great pro day yesterday. So guys understand, and the ones that aren't successful, usually don't do the right things. Those that do do. Not many of us can be Randy Moss and just eat, Big Macs before every game and go out and catch 200 yards and 4 touchdowns. It's not how that works.
Shout out to you, Dad. Shout out to Randy Moss.
Yeah.
The original.
The OG Randy Moss.
Yes.
Let's get back to some of these questions. Which co-host? This is the most important one so far. Which co-host can bench the most?
Probably Jonathan.
Absolutely, Jonathan.
I don't know. My money's on Sky. I feel like Sky's sneaky strong.
I'm compact. It's.
I can bench press. I can bench press a 3.5-year-old. That's all I care about right now.
That's all I care about right now.
Charlie has 4 inches on me though. 3 inches on me.
I got like a foot on you then. So what does that mean?
You got also 20 years on me.
I think the most I ever benched was in college. I benched 385 was my max.
Yeah.
That's
Ryan wins.
Eons ahead of what I can bench. But the question wasn't you. There's an implication here, Ryan. There's an implication here that JP makes that we know you can bench the most. That's why he didn't say which of all of the people on the Ryan list.
He did say co-host.
He said co-host.
Yeah. There's also, I think there's.
I don't believe that to be true. I think that I would have problem. I think I would have a problem benching 225 right now. I really would. And I used to be able to do it 16 times. But I think I'd have a problem.
Okay.
You know why? Also, because my elbows are shit. Like I tried to do push-ups the other day, and my I can't remember if it was my right elbow or my left elbow felt like it was going to blow out of its skin. So I don't do push-ups anymore either. So I'm an old man.
All right.
I'm an old man. Yeah.
2 more questions. Let's go through more questions before you add some structure. All right. What are your thoughts on Daniel Jones? He's got a lot of hate this past NFL season.
As well as he should. His name was being brought up next to mine in terms of turnovers through 27 starts, right? Of course, he didn't break the record. No one's breaking my record, all right? I'm competitive as shit. But when you're being compared to me, that's a problem. You've turned the football over. Now, if Joe Judge and this staff feel like they're going to give him 1 more year, which I'm glad they are, let's see what he can do with some new weapons. With a team that's got some continuity, Saquon Barkley comes back, that can help supplement a little bit with a running game, though we all know that running backs don't really matter. What quarterbacks really care about in terms of the running game is if you can pass block and blitz pickup, and Saquon can do that. So I'm willing to give him another shot. When they were on a winning streak last year and they brought Daniel back in, I thought, what were they doing? Colt McCoy, I thought, was going to be a guy that could finish through the year and maybe get him a division title. They went back to Daniel. They had some problems, and they couldn't get it done down the stretch. So he's got to take better care of the football, period. That's how you make your living in this league. I use the line, you eat with those hands. It's the truest statement there. You eat with those hands. And he has been very careless with the football in his first, what has he played, 4 years in the league? So 3 years in the league. So
they got Kenny Galladay there now, so maybe that should help him out a little bit as well.
Well, let's hope so. If he's not, taking care of the football, it really won't matter who he's throwing it to.
Well, sorry, Sky. How much of that can we rationalize losing Saquon, and then also just the offensive line hasn't been like obviously?
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You protect the football. It doesn't matter. You make a point, an emphasis on it, right? You do ball protection drills. You get rid of the ball faster. You have to understand that you do not do well when hit in the pocket. Some quarterbacks are amazing. They get drilled by 2 guys and the ball's flailing around all over the place and they don't lose it. He has a problem holding onto the football. So there has to be a way to protect against that. And they haven't done it. I don't care how good the offensive line is or how bad the offensive line is. You still have to be aware of it. That many turnovers in your first 27 starts, that's a problem. That is an absolute problem that needs to be fixed this year.
All right, let's do 2 more here, and we'll move on to the next topic of conversation. Why do you think Justin Fields is falling down on draft boards after the game versus Clemson? People had him penciled as a 2nd pick to the Jets.
I don't really think he's fallen down. There is a good chance that he is the 3rd overall pick to the San Francisco 49ers. We do not know what they're doing. They could be putting up a smoke screen and making people think of Mac Jones and make people make some outrageous moves to try to get the Jets to move out of 2, like the Atlanta Falcons or something like that. Trey Lance could be the guy. Hey, we don't know anything. There's a very good chance 5 quarterbacks could go in the first 5 picks of the NFL draft this year for the first time ever. 4 for sure. And Justin Fields easily could be one of them. If he's drafted in the top 10, don't for one moment go, boy, he fell down. Whoever gets Justin Fields is going to have a heyday. I guarantee that.
Just had a great pro day too. That's going to help us stock.
Well, let's not do that.
I actually want to talk about this pro day perceptions here in a moment, but last one before we move on here. Which quarterback do you take number 1 this year, and is it an easy decision? Obviously, we know Lawrence is the consensus, but for you, Ryan, what are your thoughts?
It's Trevor Lawrence. Yeah, it's a no-brainer. Urban Meyer, if they in that staff, if they're thinking anything otherwise, then they're crazy. He is the closest thing to Andrew Luck, to Peyton Manning in terms of leadership, talent, functionality, all of the things. Unfortunately, it looks like he's going to go to Jacksonville. And, there's never been a Pro Bowler or never been a Hall of Famer in Jacksonville. So he would have to be the first. That means he would have an exceptional career. Let's see what this team can do. They made it to the AFC Championship a few years ago, predominantly with a stellar defense. They pretty much shipped away everybody defensively they had that was good. We'll see. Unfortunately, for the likes of Joe Burrow, as well as Trevor Lawrence, 2 guys that are exceptional quarterbacks, they may be just absent in the terms of the NFL in terms of championships, because they went to teams like Cincinnati and Jacksonville. It is 100% about where you go. It really, really is.
Mm-hmm.
I have a question about these pro days, Ryan, because I want to move this topic forward a little bit before we get to Athletic Brew here and get some more questions. We're obviously seeing social media makes this whole thing so interesting to me, and I was going to ask this to you earlier. I don't think it matters, but like if Twitter existed when you were being recruited by NFL teams, if you were being scouted, like Trevor Lawrence is retweeting Kellen Mond, he's retweeting Justin Fields, he's retweeting Trey Lance, he's retweeting Zach Wilson, adding, just like trying to support them, hype them up. Number one, how would have you use social media as a up and coming NFL quarterback? And I knew I was going to get that reaction. I'm genuinely curious, but also as like a serious question on this point. Obviously, on social media, we're going to see the great throws in pro days. We're going to see it's all elevated based on the social media perspective. So how much of this do we take with a grain of salt when we see Kellen Mond throw a bomb 60 yards down the field in a pro day scenario, to the end zone?
Take it with the most extreme grain of salt you can. It's meaningless. You have hours and hours and hours upon tape of him actually doing it in competition, not in shorts, not against air. Not, I understand there's a pressure sense when you got NFL scouts there, but guess what? NFL scouts are at every one of your college football games. They are. They're always there. They're always watching. They're always watching film. Marty Schottenheimer said my workout up at Washington State was the best one he'd seen since Troy Aikman's. And Jamarcus Russell's was amazing to make the Oakland Raiders draft him number 1 overall. Okay. You're going to have the only thing a pro day can do for a top 5 quarterback is ruin them. If you go out and miss everything, if you stumble around, if you answer questions weirdly, and all it can do is hurt you. I don't believe it necessarily can help you. It may help you in terms of fan bases watching Zach Wilson, throw a dime going to his left across his body. We all made throws like that. If we are top 5 quarterbacks that are going to be drafted, we can make those throws. Okay. It's not, and it's meaningless, right? If he misses that throw, if the guy drops it, or if he misses that throw, people aren't going to be like, oh my God, how did he not make that throw? So it doesn't do anything but hurt you, I believe. And sometimes I wonder whether the need to do it is actually needed. It's a television show is what it is. And it hypes up your fan base. And what that did is pretty much, I think, sent Sam Darnold on his way out of town in New York because of a hyped pro day by Zach Wilson. So don't take too much stock in it unless it's a complete bomb. Then you can be like, okay, you can't. Because if somebody were to like push aside a bad pro day or bad performance in a pro day, then that for me is more of a red flag than anything else.
How would you use Twitter?
Oh, it would have been a time. It would have been a fucking time bomb for me. It's like launching grenades. Trevor Lawrence knows two things. He's the number 1 overall pick, and guess what? Him and his agent may have already negotiated a contract with Jacksonville. He already could have been drafted by now. I remember Lee Steinberg telling me the story about how Troy Aikman was drafted by the Cowboys almost 3 months in advance of the actual draft. You are able to start negotiating a contract if you are the number 1 overall team drafting. And so the contract may be in negotiating right now. And internally, Trevor may have already been chosen by Urban and that team. And now, the Jets are on the clock in reality. And so he can be hyping all his boys up, going, hey, great throw. And everybody's like, what is he doing? Doesn't he want to be the first pick in the draft? He's already the first pick in the draft.
Well, doesn't the team still have all the leverage in that situation? Because then they could say, well, if we don't agree with your terms in this negotiation, we're just not going to pick you. Or is that a bad idea?
Yeah, that's fine. That is absolutely fine. If Trevor goes, hey, you tell me I don't have to go to the freaking Jacksonville Jaguars, I'm not gonna, they can at any point, a player, that's the only leverage they have is to not play and not sign a contract. It's what Matt Stafford said in this process with the trade stuff. He told people, hey, San Francisco or Los Angeles, and if you try to trade me somewhere else, I'm gonna deny to take my physical with that team. And so that's the only leverage you have. So Trevor Lawrence, if Jags don't like the contract negotiations, the thing about the rookie salary cap though is it's pretty much predominantly set in stone. You already know what you're getting. It's really not too much of it that the agent can do. There's some squabbling over verbiage and things, and we saw that with Joey Bosa a few years ago. That played into the Chargers situation, but it's all about verbiage right now rather than the actual contract and money, guaranteed money and things like that.
What's too athletic?
But when you sign a big contract,
you got to crack one open.
But this day and age, especially if you are RDL show fans, we drink Athletic Brew. All right. This one's called Upside Dawn. It's a light beer, non-alcoholic brewery. Go to the website, athleticbrewing.com. Your first order is on us, 10% off delivery for 2 6-packs. They have many different options, IPAs, light beers. I am an alcoholic. Therefore, I'm allergic. I can't drink alcohol. Tomorrow will be 9 years sober for me. So this has been an amazing alternative. When I want to celebrate, enjoy the great taste of Athletic Brew, but not have any of the consequences, this is where I go. Drink up, everybody.
I believe I saw our RDL's top fan Rob put in an order for some Athletic Brew last night.
Really,
Rob.
Oh, right on cue. Right on cue. That's amazing. We got you, Rob.
Rob Berger is our he's like our promotion expert right now. He's all over it for us. We appreciate him. This is a fan appreciation day. It's a fan appreciation day for sure. We are up. Where are we at with the subscribers right now?
We're in the mid 500.
We're like 560 something. 560 something.
We're climbing. We're over 1,000.
All right. Well, here we go. Grassroots climbing the ladder, everybody. All right. What do we got next here from our loyal fans?
Are you opposed to taking a running back in the first round for a team like the Dolphins or Steelers?
I knew that was coming.
Is this a setup? Is this a setup? Okay. How do you pronounce your name? Is it
Jack
K? Is it Jack K?
Jai.
I think Jai K. Jai.
Okay.
Send us your phonetics.
Send us your phonetics. No, don't do it. I am assuming the running back for Alabama is going to get drafted somewhere in the first round.
It is Jay, by the way.
Okay.
Oh,
I told you. I'm a phonetics master. I assume the running back from Alabama is going to get drafted in the first round, and I think if you're going to draft one, it has to be later in the first round when your team is already really good and it's not going to cost you as much money. But if you listen to the show, we don't pay running backs, we don't pay wide receivers, we don't pay special teams players. We pay left tackles if your quarterback's right-handed. We pay pass rushers and we pay quarterbacks. That's what we do, and that's how we draft in the first round. Of course, you're going to draft linebackers when you got the likes of Micah Parsons and guys like that. But those are predominantly the guys that we spend money on here at the RDL show.
All right, well, we went through what we have so far in questions. Keep the questions coming, people. I want your perspective on something, Ryan. So there's obviously the whole conversation while we're waiting for the questions to fill up here again surrounding name, likeness, and image in collegiate sports has taken a step forward as of the last 2 days because why am I forgetting Charlie? Who's the Iowa player?
Jordan Bohannon.
Thank you. Jordan Bohannon, one of the guards on Iowa, all-time 3-point makes leader for the Hawkeyes in the history books, came out and said, if I can benefit from my name, likeness, and image, I will not put myself in the NBA draft conversation. I will come back for another year of basketball. And I thought this was an interesting perspective because we haven't seen an athlete come out right and say, if I can get paid in college, I'll stay. And this actually adds an incentive in my mind to the NCAA to start moving the ball a little bit more forward in getting these athletes some sort of compensation for their work, because then, like in basketball specifically, the one and done rule is killing the sport. And this gives them an opportunity to keep their talent. In football, may not necessarily be the same situation, but football players will go to smaller programs if they get greater incentives. How do you see this conversation moving forward now that we've seen a legitimate college athlete say, if I get paid, I'm coming back to college. I don't need to go to the pros?
Well, he doesn't need to go now. That's the reason people go to the pros, is to get paid, to support their family. That's the reason. So if you're telling me there's a possibility to be compensated in some form in college and to experience the enjoyment of college athletics, which is amazing, then why not? So this is I love to hear this. Unfortunately, I don't know if that's going to be something that gets done quickly enough for him to. It may be something in the future for future players to play out. But I've said all along, I'm an advocate for the players. I do believe they're compensated with a scholarship, with a free education. Some are not going to college to get the education, but rather to advance their professional opportunities and support their family. I understand that completely. So therefore, there has to be some incentive in terms of, if you're going to monetize the things that they do, the amount of money that's generated with TV revenue. When I walked up on campus and I saw my jersey in the bookstore being sold, I never thought for one moment, like, why am I not getting my cut of that? I didn't. You know, when the NCAA college football game was being played and there was a crimson jersey for the Washington State Cougars running around with the number 16 on it, I didn't think, why am I not being compensated for that? I was like going, holy shit, man, I'm on a video game. My boys are put back home, are playing me as a video game. Oh my God, my jersey's being sold in the bookstore. How freaking cool is that? That's how I viewed it. I didn't understand the amount of money that was being made, you know, until I started seeing the facilities pop up after I left Washington State, the new weight room, then them asking me for money to build an indoor facility. There's a lot of money being generated and donated and being a part of these huge programs. And these players, many of which, 99.9% of them, won't play at the next level in terms of football, men's basketball. This is their highest earning potential around their athletic careers, and they should be compensated for it. So I love that lawmakers are trying to push these through. The NCAA is going to push against it as much as they can because they want to keep all the money to themselves, and if they start dishing it out to the players who they call amateurs, they're not going to be happy about it. So I love the bold statement. Unfortunately, I don't know if it's going to be in place in time, but I expect more players to be making decisions like this based on coming back and playing college sports for another year if they're getting compensated within their name, image, and likeness.
So Bill Powell responds, and this is obvious. This is a very interesting conversation. I was in a debate class in college at Oregon, and I had to debate both sides of this because I was the only person in the class that worked in sports. He says paying college players hurts the lower sports. I assume he means non-rev. It needs to go to the school. The schools that are going to attract the talent that that are gonna that will afford to be able to get paid for their talent are also going to be able to afford to compensate the non-rev sports. That's how I see this going. So I don't.
And
I don't think I don't think softball is going to get hurt. I don't think Title IX is going to be really. I think that's sort of a play that payment people use.
This isn't going to be mega bucks, people. Yeah. All right. It's not going to exist. And guess what? It's going to allow for teams that don't normally get maybe a 5-star to get a guy. Like a 5-star guy who goes to Alabama where there's 10 or 12 other 5-stars is going to be recruited to someplace like Washington State and Pullman. And they're going to have a calling card. Hey, we have a car dealership that would love to use you as the spokesperson. You're the only 5-star kid there, right? You're going to get more opportunities. The pie is split up differently at Alabama. So I do believe players are going to be able to go to places they don't normally would. It's not going to unload all the greats to all the great schools. I think it might even the playing field out. And just like anything, in local communities, the softball girls, the volleyball girls, they're going to have local opportunities. Like I used to go get my haircut from the same barber every week. What if, when I was in college, if you said, hey, when you come in to get your haircut, I'm gonna promote a Q&A thing where you come in, I'll give you your haircut for free, maybe throw you a couple bucks, and everybody comes in and does a Q&A, and then they get their haircuts. You know, those are the types of things that are going to happen locally in these small communities for not only football, men's basketball, women's basketball, all the sports. There's going to be little things like this that exist for players for their name, image, and likeness. It's not going to be big bucks, right? It's not. It just isn't.
I also don't see this happening anytime like in the immediate future. Yeah, I was going to say maybe in the next 5 to 8 years.
Well, no, it's going to be law here in California, so it's going to have to go into effect much sooner. You know, they're gonna press the feet to the fire of the NCAA because it's going to go into law here in the state of California, I believe, in 2023.
So what happens? Okay, so the state of California passes it, and all of us and the other states choose not to.
Other states won't. Do you know why? Because Nick Saban's going to be there at the governor's house saying, "You need to get this done."
But Ryan, does that makes in essence the playing field less level or unlevel, I guess, because California now has a set of stipulations that are going to attract top talent, which I actually think is great for all the sports in the state of California, but it screws over the states but that's their
the states are going to ratify it, and the NCAA will be obsolete. It will. If anything out of this, and you're talking about 5 years, Charlie, the NCAA existing in 5 years is less of a chance than this law not being in place and the NCAA no longer existing in terms of college football. I really do believe that to be true. So
yeah, interesting point. I guess we'll see what happens.
All right, let's move to a question here. Where are all the lefty quarterbacks? Tua is first in a long time. Are they in the MLB bullpens? Is football structurally anti-southpaw? P.S. David wants us to know he was a highly mediocre left-handed quarterback.
So was I.
There are some goodies coming. We have Sam Heward that's going to be at Washington next year, is an extremely talented young lefty quarterback in the vein of his older uncle, Brock Heward. The last lefty quarterback to throw a touchdown in the NFL before Tua did it this past season was Kellen Moore. Yeah, it's rare. It just is.
I didn't realize.
You protect with left tackles, not right tackles. So we'll see how Tua fares. Where are we in terms of college football right now and lefty quarterbacks coming up? Do we have any that are
not nobody that's stand out this season? But that actually brings up the last point of his question here: is football structurally anti-southpaw? Because you just said systematically the offensive line is trained to protect with the left side. So does that?
Well, I mean, it does when you have that. I mean, you change whatever it works. If you're a lefty quarterback,
the right tackles coming up, Ryan, are traditionally typically at the high school level, collegiate level, are typily with right-handed quarterbacks.
Well, if you have a left-handed quarterback at your high school, your right tackle is going to be the guy that they bolster up. It depends on who you have. It's not saying that I don't think they're pushing people away, but I do think that if you're a tall, athletic, left-handed guy, you're being pushed towards baseball. I know that for a fact. So yeah, to his point, they're a lot. Like like, you know, I tied my son's right hand behind his back for a long time because I wanted him to be lefty because he's gonna be 6'9". He could be, you know, that's a Randy Johnson type of slider.
6'9"?
Yeah.
Oh my
so,
God.
you know, but he didn't. He forced his way through, and he's right-handed like his papa. So, you know, we'll see how it all plays out. But yeah, I think there's, you know, I think if you're left-handed, I mean, the Heward kid simply has defied everything. He's, you know, thrown for more yards ever in high school history in the state of Washington. He's going to the University of Washington. He easily could be the starter a year from now. We'll see. We'll see how that plays out.
I got a handful of left-handed quarterbacks: Boomer Esiason, Ken Stabler, Michael Vick, Mark Brunell right behind me. Of course, Tim Tebow.
Shout out David Morey, Michael Penix at IU. He's a beast.
Oh, now we're an Indiana fan. Look at this. The beginning of the show.
Oh my God!
You sure there isn't a left-handed quarterback at Michigan next year that we should be looking out for?
I follow both teams.
Oh, okay.
Michael
Kellen
Penix
Moore
was awesome this year. I've met him. I just walked past him. All right. The vibes were good when I did it.
Well, then count it.
Wonderful.
It is interesting. I just want to make a quick point. I know this is a football conversation, but I grew up left-handed, switch hitting baseball. Basically, I had to kind of be somewhat ambidextrous in baseball because once I got out of Little League into high school, they wouldn't let me play shortstop straight up because I was left-handed. Yep. I was able to play it. I'm good at it. I played catcher coming up. I love playing catcher, but I got pigeonholed to play center field and pitcher in high school and then junior college baseball and semi-pro baseball because they wouldn't let me play catcher or shortstop because I'm left-handed, hit both ways. I could play the position, but there's these built-in mentalities that I couldn't make the throw with a right-handed batter down to third base or these other things. And it just, that also, I think, moves into football a little bit as well. The spiral of the ball. There's this thing that
I have a simple answer for that. Don't be left-handed. All right. So,
fair enough.
We're going to move on. Thanks everybody for being part of the show here in our first month. Tomorrow is April 1st. This is kind of a goodbye for the month. I will be 9 years sober tomorrow. It is maybe the coolest thing I've ever done. It's the thing I'm most proud of. It's the thing I'm most proud of. And I'm here because of a lot of people. I've been sober 9 years, but 3 of those were in prison. I woke up on the floor of a prison cell 9 years ago tomorrow morning with no idea what my life would look like. I thought it was over. I was welcoming it to be over. I would not know what the next 3 years in prison would look like. And the fear was overwhelming. Some way, somehow, I chose not to use while I was in prison. And when I walked out, I had this new sense of hope because of the service that I learned about and built as a foundation while in prison. And it's built from there. Doesn't mean I'm not a flawed human being, and doesn't mean I don't mess up all the time still. The alternative is you give up, and we don't give up. Not here at the RDL show, not anyone who listens or is a part of it. We get back up and we keep trudging forward. We start anew tomorrow. And that's what I'm going to do again tomorrow morning. And we'll see you guys here Friday. Thank you all to the loyal fans and listeners. We'll see you Friday, noon Pacific to 1 here on YouTube. I'm Ryan Leaf. We'll see you on Friday.